Exactly. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Landwehr Sydow from Stockholm University and Södertörn University and in Sweden. And together with my supervisors Jakob Tholander and Jonsson, we have collaboratively written the paper, It's a Bomb, Material Literacy in Narratives of Making. And I'm really glad to present this to you now. So this work presents the story of a blue box. In this story, we follow a set of activities around unpacking the function and origin of a mysterious blue box, a fiberglass box found in a garbage room, and the activities of taking the box apart in the context of a makerspace. The paper offers an ethnographic description of how this box, in the hands of two men, makers, becomes an object which they build an individual and social experience and shared narrative around. So, this provides a rich and multifaceted experience that includes elements of puzzle solving, following traces of practice, and engaging with and interpreting different types of materials, both physical, such as electronics, plastics, explosives, as well as digital materials in form of programming code. The study explores how certain properties of the physical and computational materials affects and create experience, and how narratives are shaped through the acts of interpretation and reading into these materials. And in this paper we address these issues by introducing the concept of material literacy and material qualities to help further the understanding of this interplay between subjects, materials, and experience. So, to give you just a brief look at where this is placed and situated, the case has been part of a larger ethnographic study in a makerspace in Stockholm. The site is a community-driven and crowdfunded makerspace, which was initiated by a group of people in 2013. And they created this shared hobby work environment in order to store or share their tools, but also to explore this community around it. So it has around 100, just to give you a figure, 100 active makers each month, which are then granted 24/7 access to the space. And I also want to point out that time plays a very important role in this. The observed events focus spans over a period of 2 months. That's how much I was in there. We were in there. But while the participant exploration around this box actually spans back to a time over 6 years, and the history of the box itself goes even further back. But let you just show you what this is all about. This is the box. To the left, it's closed. To the right, up, it's kind of put together again. This is not the original state when opened, but it has been taken apart already, but kind of reassembled. And the one down there is the box with all the components mixed up. So let me tell you a story. It takes us back to 2010 when Svante, 28-year-old maker, finds a battered box in a garbage room of a large insurance company. Svante, how we call this maker, has an interest in the technologies and machinery, ranging from tools and apparatus to mechanical and electronic gadgets. He's a really hands-on guy, so that's what you have to understand. He has skills in building, fixing machinery, and he has also a history of scavenging in secluded places, like fishing up weird objects from the lakes around Stockholm. Svante is, of course, not allowed to be in there. He trespasses. He's on a treasure hunt. There are loads of fascinating things, materials in there, but the box got him particularly interested. He states, "This box just captured my attention. What could it be?" Svante has to be quick. This is not a place to linger around. The box was sealed, and certain characteristics inspire his imagination, reflecting on an antenna, as you can see here, or a tool for specific purposes. Fascinated by the box's material properties, he states that it had protection from each angle, so it could explode or go off in any kind of way. The box followed back home with Svante, and driven by this desire to discover hidden treasures or valuable materials, so it was still closed, he started to open the box, and revealing traces of explosives, some metal contraptions, but otherwise it was empty. I guess he was suspecting jewelry or money, maybe some really cool objects in there, but it was unfortunately empty, just as you see here. At first disappointed, the box was put aside and forgotten for a long period of time. Svante nevertheless stated, but you know that this box had something, this box annoyed me and my friends for a long time. I had like 5 years where it was shaped and was just standing around, and they always wondered, like, what was this original purpose for this box? So now this brings us a bit closer to time. So in January 2016, this box resurfaced. Svante brings it to the makerspace and starts exploring it more closely. By now, Svante strongly suspects that this might be from a CIT box, so cache and transit box. He links that back to certain patterns he sees on the box itself. So this is the moment when he breaks open the metal compartments, revealing various cables, as you can see here, electronics, PCB boards. It became really interesting when I discovered the PCB boards and the microcontroller, and not just mechanical, but also electronic parts. Realizing that he needs to help to make sense of these electronic components, Svante asks Ola to step in. Who's Ola? Ola is into software. He's a computer security person, and he likes hacking things, hacking into systems. He often comes directly from his white-collar office job and sees the makerspace as a place where he can live out his interest in materials and explore how things practically work. So together they start to inspect and interpret the electronic components and the PCB boards, revealing some clues with respect to the age of the components and the process of fabrication. So, for example, here they're commenting on the state of soldering and the way the circuits are drawn and what that tells them from this object. So as a next step, Ola, with Svante as the bystander, tried to extract some code from the microcontroller, so to see if this could reveal something more. And yes, it was just a matter of knowing that it would store something, and then we just needed to find out what. To do this, Ola uses a chip reader imported from China, a hacked one actually, or pirated one, and an obscure assembler software that would turn the machine code into readable snippets of assembler code. The assembler code is not immediately understandable and demands a certain level of expertise to interpret. After some effort and some failed attempts, Ola finally managed to read out some strings of text that seems to be a company's name and a year, 1996. So I found the person who developed the box. I was at his home and actually talked to him yesterday. Svante exclaims with excitement. This is now a few weeks after Ola and Svante have managed to extract this company name from the code. So this is me now. I met with Svante at the makerspace, and he's so excited to tell me all about this. So Svante has tried to actually localize the company or any person connected to it. So by searching the internet for the company's name, Svante got hold on more information pointing him to several people in several locations. The company, however, had already closed down, so it's not existing anymore, and Svante failed to reach the right person via phone. So in a last really desperate attempt, since he already come so far, that's really what he said, Svante took his car and drove around to some of the addresses that he did find. After a couple of failed attempts, he finally rings at the door and is greeted by the original maker and inventor of the box. He was more than surprised, but also amazed to see this old box again. He said that it has been 20 years since he last saw this piece. So in the end, what it turns out to be is that it was a SID case, so as anticipated and as kind of found out through this process of taking apart. The blue box was not just any SID box, but it was the first prototype of its kind and included novel technology for that time, and which then turned into a series of security cases and went into mass production. So to summarize this experience, this story includes finding and investigation of an artifact, explorations of a physical object and its components, diving into and interpreting code and tracing the artifact back to its original maker. So by leaving the story behind, what can we say about what happened in this series of events? And one perspective would, of course, be to look into a quite straightforward investigation on taking an artifact apart, or the process of reverse engineering, as we also point out in the paper. Such aspects were, of course, present in our case, but on close analysis, it became obvious that they did not capture the essential qualities of what this activity was primarily about. Instead, it became salient that the two main participants engaged in this activity were there for the sake of experience itself. So, in order to unpack the experimental dimension of these engagements, we used the following three conceptualizations: narratives and technology as text, material qualities, and material literacy. So, in their seminal work from 1997, Grint and Volger proposed this metaphor of technology as text and the idea that the technologies are written by designers and consequently read by users. One central aspect that this metaphor provides is this view of interaction with technology as essentially interpretive. And another way of approaching this is to situate the interpretation of this artifact in a context of narrative and storytelling. So McCarthy and Wright explicitly tie the notion of experience to narrative, and for example, saying that they propose that we frame and structure life events in terms of coherent narratives in order to make sense of the world. So the main points that we would like to make from these accounts regard to how the experience that are formed and the engaging and the exciting story that participants create for themselves rely on their abilities and strong motivations to deconstruct and interpret the properties of the object and materials that they encounter. Or in other words, as Grint and Volger say, the user is encouraged to find in their dealings with the machine an adequate puzzle for the solution which the machine offers. So, and a narrative is thus formed through the participant's interpretation of the artifact in forms of close readings of its qualities. And these material qualities we point out, we identified basically 6 central qualities here of this artifact and its constituent materials that we believed were particularly important of how the activity played out. So the qualities we point out were opacity, authenticity, risk, age, uniqueness, and hybridity. And as much as I would love to go into them in detail, I think time is running out, so I let you all explore them in our paper. But I want to say that those material qualities, or the claim what we want to make for this, is not that the qualities straightforwardly can be translated into design, or for instance, new treasure hunt technologies. Rather, we point out the importance of thoroughly considering how such qualities touch upon personal and social driving forces behind people's engagement in various activities, but also to the wide range of skills and interests that people have, and how those aspects may interplay with the design of new things and technologies. So we have framed the participants' engagement with the technology and the social process around them, primarily as experimental-oriented process with similarities to that of interpreting and reading text. So get it up there. The relations, so basically what we say material literacy is the relation between the interpretation of the objects and materials. The notion of material literacy provides here means of bridging technology as text and technology as material. Interpreting technology is largely about being able to deal with technology's hybrid characters defined by a multitude of material qualities, as we pointed out earlier, the ones we mentioned. So this advances a way of thinking about literacy with technology or technological artifacts that opens for new types of engagement. So interpretations, experiences, with consequences not only for make activities, but also to understand human technology relationships. So what we think we contribute with this is that we try to reposition maker activities beyond the realm of innovation and learning, which of course also are present here, and we don't want to diminish them. We rather want to highlight additional level. And the notion of material qualities, so this relation between the qualities of an artifact, its making, and experiences that participants have around these qualities. And we would like to highlight material literacy, which is then, as means to further this understanding of how maker experiences unfold in this engagement with objects and materials. So with that, I'm open for questions, and thank you.
Okay, I will ask a quick question.
Can you come a bit closer?
Oh, sorry. I'll ask a quick question.
Yeah.
You didn't spend a lot of time talking about material qualities, but the last two presentations were about younger makers. I was wondering, how do you teach material quality to someone in elementary school?
Like, how do you teach that? I mean, of course, there's learning included in a way. Here, the participants are, of course, as you see, older. So this is not the main goal, but learning is, of course, still an incremental part of exploring. And I think we link it very much back to this experience of taking apart what do you see in traces of the artifact, and what kind of practice were left in the artifact by prior use. And I mean, this could be, of course, translated into a form of a workshop, or you explore technology and try to kind of go back to where does it come from, where does it maybe links to Ingold a bit, that there's no kind of end, and material has always a start in a way and an ending, and kind of technology is dying in a sense, but then also is kind of reused, reproduced, recycled, and so on. So of course you could explore this also in teaching settings. Thank you. Run up. Questions I love. Exactly. You can do it. There's someone.
Yes.
Perfect.
I don't know how much of a question it is, but it's going off. It's going off. Her comment. I'm Ian Rajo at Cornell University. I work on education.
Yes.
Seymour Papert has one of his famous essays that he's written, many essays, is called "What's the Big Idea?" and it's sort of a criticism of discovery learning, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not real discovery. What I find